Come on, go. Oh.
Well, now it doesn't look like there's two of me. I don't know what's happening.
Well, it only shows one of you on my list.
Yeah, it was. Oh, this is bizarre. I just got a new computer and it's not cooperating very well on things. I'm going to try to leave and come back.
Okay.
Oh, start my video. No.
Okay, we are on. Amanda is here.
I'm here. Yes.
Faith Dayton.
Present.
Jeanette.
Here.
Joanne.
Here.
Joanna. Judy.
Yes.
Kate Mather or anyone with Nation's Finest. Michelle Fox. Paul Davis.
Here.
Reese Martinez. Teresa DeSimone.
Here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a quorum.
Sure.
We don't have a quorum in person, but I think that that's okay because a quorum of this group. So I'm just going to pretend that that's the way it is. So it's on right now. So I think that it'll be okay because the majority of the quorum is in person. So we'll go with that. A quorum is present. Paul, you can all done.
All right. Thanks, Veronica. Is there any public comment on non-agendized items? Okay. We're going to move on to announcements. The COC is accepting nominations of COC members for the vacant governing board seat. Individual with lived experience of homelessness. Also, the COC board is accepting nominations of COC board members for the positions of board chair and board vice chair. Funding. Veronica, do you want to take this?
Yes. So the purpose of today's special COC board meeting is to review and approve the 2024-2025 COC collaborative application that will be included in the consolidated packet that goes along with the COC priority listing of the projects that we've agreed to fund. So the application is included in this packet. I've got a few printed copies here, and we should entertain a motion, a second, and then a discussion, and then public comment, and then we can vote.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve this?
I'll move. I'll second.
Great. Discussion? Anyone? All right.
Does anyone have any questions about the 157 pages that are before you? So the first section is on identifying what our COC is and what we do. I talk about a racial equity assessment that we did as part of the HAP 4 and 5 applications. I talk about how our committees work, coordination with our ESG program recipients on page 10. I know that Paul represents hospitality and Joanne represents RCS. So I also added some new language under some questions around collaboration between the COC and DV providers. We've got MCYP that's fairly new. We had them mentioned, but that's kind of grown a little bit. So I got to add a little bit there. I did send several of the domestic violence collaboration questions to Judy and Michelle at Project Sanctuary and Amanda at the Youth Project. And I didn't get much, like I got endorsements. Everybody endorsed what I wrote to the best of their ability. The new VAWA protections that are now under the COC program. I talked about how our written standards do require programs to notify clients at the start that they can request assistance under the COC program. If they need a emergency transfer, so if they experience domestic violence or other similar traumas, they can request assistance to relocate under the COC program. And I believe CDC is going to work on an amendment in the future to add a little bit of funds into that budget, because it's not in this one now, but you can't change it now. You have to change it once it's approved, and then it's weird how HUD does it.
So we can transfer funds into that now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So great. More VSP stuff, collaborative applicants. I talked about, so the things that Megan shared about at the last COC meeting on voucher lease-ups of people who are experiencing homelessness. On page 18 of the packet, we reported 43% of new admissions into public housing or housing choice voucher program during fiscal year 2023 that were experiencing homelessness at entry. So we talked about that, how it looked like it was 60, but some of them may not have been quite in that program. So the percent is actually 43%.
For those,
For public housing and HCV only.
oh, HDB only. Oh, that's that was for 2023.
Yes. So it may have been
You're tracking each month.
Yeah. So what HUD wanted to know, that window was 43%. The national average, I believe, is around 8 or 9%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's less than 10%. So we are above and beyond. Like we're like right there at the. Well, it's because there's so much need, and it's
So many more homeless people. Like, so in other
well, in California, especially, it's all over, and so it's our collaboration, and we've got other programs that CDC is operating in tandem with them.
So there's a deeper reach into the homeless population as opposed to only low income.
Also, their housing navigator, their housing their landlord liaison only works with people experiencing literal homelessness, unless it's under EHV or something else that CDC is doing. So there's a focus on specifically rehousing people who are literally homeless.
Really awesome.
Yeah, so it's working, and proof is in the pudding. We are getting extra points under competitive project or COC coordinated with a PHA to submit a joint application for or jointly implemented, and that's a FUP program. There was a list.
Also has really improved in the last couple of years.
Yep.
It used to be all floundering at the beginning, and now it's fully utilized. Yes.
We've had a problem.
Apply for, maybe apply for more. We just need to talk. That would be great. I see it in the NOPA. It comes out at the beginning of the year. That would be awesome. I think we even like 10 or 15 more,
Yeah, we can certainly use them. Especially with front open families and our connection to child welfare has made it really much more efficient.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I struggled to respond to, because it doesn't really happen locally, is question 1D-7A on page 26, which is about COC collaboration with public health agencies on infectious diseases. And they specifically did not want to know about what you're doing, what you did for COVID. They're like, well, what else have you done with them in the guidance that's not in your application? And so, well, Maybe.
It's specific to public health department and not necessarily,
Public health tracks that too.
but they're not a HOPWA grantee, are they?
To limit infectious disease outbreaks among program participants.
Oh,
So I really thought of like COVID and monkeypox and, you know, those kind of things. I didn't think of like HIV
I don't think
specific.
the public health department has been that involved, I have to be honest, but that's why we struggled with it.
Well, do any of our emergency shelters know of any collaboration you've had?
Do they?
The public health?
We interact with them a lot.
Around,
I get, a lot of referrals.
but not around
Oh.
infectious disease specific, like
HIV. We do non-congregate shelter for persons with HIV through MCHC and through MCHC.
But do they do anything around outbreaks or disease or communicable disease prevention type stuff in your shelter? I think this was very.
Yeah.
specific around that.
No,
In B2, no, just non-congregate.
Right. So, and
Like,
a COC partner and provider and member is involved in that. But the COC doesn't, like, we're not collaborating on, we understand public health is going to provide education to all our shelters and, you know that non-congregate shelter is better for XYZ populations and that kind of level of engagement that a lot of other communities do.
I think there's some room for.
Yes.
collaboration.
I just haven't had anybody consistently in public health to be able to build
No.
relationships with because it's so,
And the
up and
rest
down.
of it.
so Megan recommended and I agreed with describing the partnership that McCavan has through the HIV and hepatitis outreach with public health because they have a contract specifically for the needle exchange. And so we talked about that. So that's an area. One of the other problems is I wasn't able to identify a third person with lived experience in the last 7 years that was involved in a COC work group or policy or funding committee or anything like that. I have two. I have Priest and Camille, who've both agreed to sign. But in order to qualify for the points, and Don Damp is not in the last 7 years. He and I already talked. He's been housed for 15 years.
I think our struggle in this area, and we really appreciated Jason Camille
Yeah.
helping out in that, but it is pointing to our ongoing need to have a lived experience forward and find a way to get that voice more well instituted. We haven't been able to do that as well as we would like. We know that too. We just haven't.
I actually am on that exact question on page 33. So I can only report two, and I need to clarify with Priest and Camille. I didn't ask them if either one of them came from unsheltered locations, and you don't have to disclose now. But before I finish that, I want to clarify that column. If it's, how many people in that on question 1D-10A. But I have two letters of support that we'll be including in our application, but I doubt we'll qualify for points under that question.
We certainly have some people that I can think of right now that qualify, but the trouble is, once they start working, they never can attend this meeting.
Right. Which is why we're working on establishing a lived experience board where it could meet at some unique time and do that policy and then a representative from that group is the lived experience board member who represents what that group
There's
has
so
to
many
say.
things about that model that would be beneficial, because if you have a lived experience board meeting together, it's much more comfortable. I think the quality of the interactions and information will be much better than only relying on that voice at the COC, which is a lot of tedious administration. It's not really, it's not the best place, I think. No, and it sort of seems, more respectful to create an environment for people with lived experience to be together and share that experience than providing only access through the table through the.
Those are the big things. The rest of it's pretty straightforward data. We submitted all of our HMIS similar like S reporting on time. Everything was submitted before the deadlines, before or on. What else? What else? I think we'll qualify for all points in that area. All of our LSA files were usable. Last year, only 2 of our rapid rehousing files were usable. So that demonstrates we've had drastic improvement in our current data on long-term permanent supportive housing clients. I know that CDC made a very huge effort on getting the annual reassessments or the annual update done in HMIS, and it shows. It shows up not just in their report, but it shows up in our overall performance. So that's great. Account, system performance. I think those are the highlights. So I just want to clarify, Section 3A, coordination with housing and healthcare, it only applies if we are applying for a new project in this grant application that is some form of permanent housing that is in collaboration with a healthcare provider. We have 0 new applications, so none of these apply. There are questions earlier in the collaboration where I talk about ECM, street medicine, hospitals, all of that, Medicaid expansion, community supports and all of that. I do talk about that earlier, but please know Section 3A is only for if we're asking for funding through this grant application. That came up last year, so I wanted to clarify. We said, and that's it. And then we got the attachments, and then you got copies of those.
Veronica, I want to publicly thank Veronica. This is really tedious, long work. She has to go through to do these. And I think usually every year, but this is 2 years this time, right?
Yes.
So that is really fantastic. Because I would have no idea how to fill in do this. No, any of us would. So I just super appreciate that, Veronica. I know you worked hard on it. Thank you. It's a necessary bureaucratic exercise.
Been working on it for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah, thank you.
One thing I do want to clarify is this round of funding is only for the 2024 funding. Renewal projects that are approved, unless we tell them something weird and say, hey, don't fund it, they'll automatically be renewed for under the 2025 when Congress releases that appropriations bill, if that's the right word. There may be more funding available next year, and if so, COCs will have another opportunity to apply for new projects. So we may have to do another local competition, but it won't be a large grant packet like what we're doing today. This is good for 2 years, but it doesn't mean that the funding, we're not going to get opportunity for more funding next year. Wanted to clarify that. So we have a motion on the table. Paul, will you ask for public comment?
All right, any public comment on this? I'm not hearing anything. Veronica, can we take a vote?
Please say yes, no, or abstain when I call your name. Amanda Archer.
Yes.
Faith Dayton.
Yes.
Jeanette.
Yes.
Joanne. Judy.
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Priest.
Yes.
Teresa.
Same.
Yes. That is correct. Motion approved.
All right.
Ooh.
Our next meeting will be November 18th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m.
And it'll be in the big room.
Thank you so much for all your work, Veronica.
Thanks, Veronica.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Veronica.
Paul.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. Thanks, all. I'll talk to you soon.